Hey, Oved. Welcome to the Latinx Business Podcast show.
Amazing. Good to meet you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, thanks for joining. I know your time is valuable, and we're all running small businesses, and every single moment counts, right? So, but yeah, thanks for joining. We'll get right into the questions, and the first question is, what's your preferred pronoun? They, them, he, him, and yeah,
He, him is fine. Thanks,
he,
man.
him is fine.
Thanks for
Okay.
asking.
We'll address you, yes, as he, him. And, the second question I ask a lot of my interviewings is, who's Oved Valadez, right? Where are you from? What are your family origins? And how do you identify within the Latinx community?
Amazing. That's a hard question, right? I think
Yeah.
we oftentimes, since the Socrates days, ask ourselves, who am I, right? That's the ancient question. But
Yeah.
a little bit about myself. I was born in Mexico. I was born in a small town called Totonilco el Alto, which is the highlands of Jalisco. And at a young age, I migrated to the States. First to Chicago area,
Yeah, yeah.
Midwest area, and it really helped shape and define who I am, right? I think
Yeah.
this beautiful tension that I still live by of a lot of curiosity, which is a new way of seeing the world always in everything that I do, and rigor, and the rigor is like, it's not easy, it's the hard
Yeah.
work, and bringing these two together has really defined how I see the world and how I operate in the world. And I'm very blessed to have found that early on, because I always tell people we should always look and address that inner child that is inside of us, and really approach life remembering those things and who you are. So that's who I am.
Yeah, so all right, so you came over at an early age, and how do you think that's shaped your point of view, right? Being brought to the U.S. as a child, I guess, right? And I mean, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but is that something that you think that really guides you day to day and what you do every day with your firm that you started?
Yeah, 100%. I think, to me, the way to think about it is the best metaphor of it is our worlds are changing so much and so fast by the moment that I embrace it. I embrace change,
Yeah.
because at a young age, you get brought to a place, dropped into this cold place like Chicago, who
Yeah.
schools look like prison. No one's really speaking Spanish. Food is very different. You have the harshest winters. What you thought was cool, because this is before the internet, in Mexico is not cool. Chicago had, luckily I was in the era of the 90s. So
Yeah.
there was the Bulls, Nike, starter, street culture, and
Right.
all of that was just, amazing to me. It was newness. So now, every single time that we're changing and adapting as humans, I adapt. Everyone's scared of AI. I'm like, embrace it. Something new. What is it? What's this tool? Oh, what's over here? So
Yeah.
that curiosity that being an immigrant has given me is a superpower. And
It is,
again,
yeah.
you use the metaphor of being picked up and dropped into these new places, but sometimes things drop on you. And instead of being scared, you embrace it with that curiosity and
Yeah.
see where it takes you.
No, that's great advice, So I was born and raised here in East Los Angeles, right? In Los Angeles. So it's so interesting to me because I like stability, So when you say embrace AI, I'm like it makes my heart jump. But I know that AI is the future. I use it every single day, I prepare taxes and I do bookkeeping for clients. So that's like my bread and butter. But also, yeah, man, I just find like the answers to things that before it would take me like 3 hours to research, right? And I find the answers in 15 minutes. And then I'm like, wait, that's not what I asked you. Let me rephrase that prompt. And I was like, no, I'm like, hey bro, tell me this, So like, I actually talked to like the AI, bot or whatever you call it. Like if it's just another person that I'm like bouncing an idea off of, But yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. And actually, I think that's pretty like, pretty similar experience to a lot of immigrants that migrate, right? You guys are forced to be put in this new environment where, like, what's the word? Maybe your culture or it's all new, so you're forced to embrace this newness, right? Like my parents came here from Mexico again, and like yeah, they landed in East LA, but like it's not Mexico, right? It's not. My parents are from Aguascalientes, so Aguascalientes is like a mid-sized town, and it's super tranquil, right? In terms of like it's not a major city like Guadalajara or Mexico City.
It has those grids. It has the grid. I love
Yeah.
Aguascalientes.
Yeah, no, no, dude, I love it too. It's so different, and like I was telling you earlier, like I just got back from Mexico, right? And Mexico has such diversity. Even just like I like in the street signs of the numbers of the buildings, I almost feel like every other building is competing with each other to be like ours is cooler, or my sign has more creativity because it's like it's just a street sign, right? It's just like 132 North whatever or whatnot. So, but yeah, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I also know that I crave a lot of stability. So being born and raised here, it's been also huge for me to embrace like our culture and our Mexican culture too as well. But yeah, tell me a little bit more about your company and tell me what made you start industry. Yeah.
Well, so Industry Creative, we started in 2011. So to backtrack a little bit,
Yeah.
from Chicago, I knew that I wanted to be in the world of expression and creativity. So I went to school for art. I thought I was going to be a painter. I thought I was going to be the next Basquiat. And then around that time,
Yeah.
you had this funny little thing called the iPod, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
this is amazing. And you had these amazing products, and I'm like, and you had incredible shoes, and I'm like, but wait, who's designing those? Who's coming up with that? Because at that time, you saw how people fell in love with an object, how you can connect and break borders through an object. So I discovered industrial design. And then I went to school as an industrial designer, graduated, lived in Europe for a little bit, and then I got recruited to come to Portland and became an award-winning industrial designer. I worked on everything from Bluetooth headphones to working on Tampax with
Okay.
with P&G, working with Coca-Cola, working with Nike, and really looking and obsessing how an object can define the experience. But as technology started changing, I started seeing that it's not really about the objects. Objects are starting to become obsolete. Well, they're just black mirrors, black boxes. It's about the experiences around them. It's about the tangibility that a brand can give you. And understanding that, I was ahead of the game, and with a couple business partners came up with the idea of let's start a company called, and let's call it industry, because the definition of industry is a change of trade. It's if we go from like the industrial revolution to the digital revolution, to me it's always embracing all these industries, all these elements. And in the olden days, aka 2011, there was these borders, right? So it's like your insights and strategy. You're a consultant. You are product innovation and engineering. You are marketing. You are social. You do ads. And I'm like, well, what if we flip it on the what if we flip the model on its head, and we look at everything through the lens of people? What are people going to experience? What are the key touch points? And screw those borders, because the world's changing so fast that you don't have time to look at all these borders. So some of our early projects were looking at the industrial design of something like a fuel ban, but then looking how someone was going to experience it, and looking at the ad, and touching all those elements, and really obsessing the consumer journey. And that's what we became to specialize in. And from 2014 on, we've done some of the most category busting firsts in the industry, no pun intended, by not following the rules, and ultimately that's what we keep doing. Like, how do we strive to create firsts? To really, what I always tell people, and this is really important because my roots play with it, is I'm not in the game of doing beautiful things. That's a given. We're in the game of changing behavior. I want to change behavior. I
Yeah.
want to create a client comes to me with a problem. I want to create a solution so powerful that it changes the way that people interact with the brand. And that's how we transform, the relationship between people and brands. That's ultimately what we're about. So, and that's what industry is all about, this transformation between people and brands.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, tell me what all the services your agency offers. So and you already went over a couple of them, but how does your cultural values or like your Mexican upbringing come out in that creative process, right? Like, because I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier. So how do you ingrain that experience in life with like connecting humans and brands and the experience that they go through?
Well, I mean, we know how it is being a Latino. We love bringing people together. We
Yeah,
love
yeah.
bringing people together. So ultimately, I mean, you're talking about disciplines. To me,
Yeah.
we have anthropologists, engineers, CG, writers, industrial designers, cinematographers, producers, AI experts, trends analysts, and we put them all together in a room. We get that fun little party, that tia in the corner talking about this, and other uncle, blah, 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 and
Yeah.
we're all getting together to solving a problem. And the more diverse the team is, the better the outputs are going to be. And I do think that the DNA of really embracing change and embracing all these elements and not being scared to explore. Do you know what I mean? Like, oftentimes, like, people get a little bit scared to be like, oh, but they said video. And I'm like, but is that really the right solution? Maybe it's a partnership. Maybe it's a word. Maybe it's an event. And
Yeah, interesting.
my
Yeah.
values really allow us to push. I'm always pushing. I mean, I drive people nuts that way because I'm always like, yeah, but
Yeah.
let's flip it. Is that
I
really the best solution? Do we really need a video, an ad? Do we really need an experience? Do we really need to pay this celebrity this? Like, what's going to have the most impact?
Yeah, no, I mean that's a lot of value there, even for small companies or big companies like the ones you work with, because I mean, I might be thinking I need this to like have the campaign be successful or whatnot, or I'm looking at it through a lens of like, oh, it has to be like a video, for example, but you're like, no, you really want to hit like the Latino community or the Asian community or the Indian community, then you gotta be where the Latinos are at, where the Indians are at, where the those communities are at. But so no, that's awesome, because I feel like a lot of people kind of will just go with what's the work we're gonna get paid for. Like what were you hired for? Oh, you were hired to do a video shoot, for example. So for me, I think that thinking that way is actually very unique, because most people just follow the norm or the mode, right? So, and that's probably where your success comes from too. But let me ask you this question. You've worked on campaigns that celebrate Latino identity, from Nike's Toma el Juego to the League's Cup rebrand. How do you balance authenticity with global appeal?
I think let's connect it back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
So the very, very important. We're not just also throwing spaghetti at the wall. We're like, any idea goes.
Yeah.
We have to have a number one foundation on people. It all starts with people.
Okay.
And to me, I always tell every creative here, like, you have to transcend. You have to put yourself in the shoes of that consumer, in the eyes, and what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're doing. And to be honest with you, I learned that in the hood, where I'm just like, all right, if I'm walking through here, what is this dude over here thinking? What is this other person like? Is this going to happen up here? So you become smart in being like, oh, and even when you dream, you're always like, oh, what would happen when you do this or that, So we have to really put on the shoes of our consumer, get in that mindset and transcend, remove and kill ego, and really try to see, okay, what's the right thing to do? So now to answer your question, so how does the Latino is of Toma el Juego, or even League's Cup is more than a game, or more than soccer, come to life and fruition? We took a step back, and we're like, especially with football, aka soccer, we realized that in America, soccer was still, and we've done a lot of research globally and around America, city from Midwest to the South, to the West, to the North, and we realized that America and soccer are stuck. It's the only place in the world where it's still suburban, it's still pay to play,
Yeah.
it's orange slices, and there's a premium. It's an activity that you do versus a lifestyle that you do. And then we look at a place like Mexico and Latin America where it's a culture. And we realized, and then you look at who's the biggest minority in the States, and it's your Latino. And we're like, wait a second. So soccer in America is not necessarily popping off because it hasn't opened its arms and embraced this whole culture. So how do we provoke it? How do we create a provocation to creating the culture, which is the music, the art, the community, the neighborhood, regardless of surface, with this beautiful structure of the game, and mash it all up, right? That's an insight. So that's a real, true insight, right? So, and you have to be true to that insight. I can't just be like, I'm going to make it Latino. That's not enough. I have to really understand the business plan behind it and say, okay, you have this demographic, you're not speaking to it, this is stuck. What is the white space? So for Leagues Cup, the white space was like, hey, why is it that every time America comes to the States, it sells out X2, the stadiums, than your American teams? Why is it that there's this beautiful rivalry but unity between the MLS and Liga Mexico? Why is it that you have someone like, Randy, and I'm going to make this up, Randy, I'm not going to defend you, that goes for LAFC, but the Pops may go for Chivas. I'm making it up.
Yeah.
And that rivalry is beautiful. I was like, what if we create a tournament that brings both leagues together? And all of a sudden, you have this beautiful tournament that, yes, it's about rivalry, but it becomes more than soccer. Because through these rivalries and through these elements, we're cross-pollinating cultures.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore moving soccer forward. And that's what we did with MLS. With Toma el Juego, we realized, like, wait a second. There's this pay-to-play model, which is fine. But soccer's not cool. Like, how do we bring in the culture of what's happening in these neighborhoods, this Latino flavor and hip-hop, and, like, bring it and make soccer a youth movement. And more importantly, talk to a community that's never been talked to. So toma, which has muchos sentidos, toma means take it. It means to drink. It means I'll go. It means to push forward. It means like I hit you. So our call to action to youth is to take the game, to define it their own way. Yeah. And it's the first Spanish platform that is going global. There's a Toma in Seoul. Can you imagine that, having the power to be like, we did Toma el Juego in Seoul, in Peru. There's going to be one in Paris, in London.
Yes.
And then it comes back to this, and then it comes back to the States, and all of a sudden, a lingo, a language that we use traditionally in places like Mexico, like Colombia, now inspire the world to take the game. Like, that's what's up. But again, both are based on an insight. One is on fandom, which is MLS and Leagues Cup, and the other one is on the act of playing or creating, which is Toma el Juego.
Toma el Juego, yeah, which is soccer, really, behind all that. And that's funny. So right on Friday, before I left to Mexico City, so in East LA, there's the East LA Classic. I don't know if you've heard about the rivalry between Roosevelt and Garfield High School. I went to Roosevelt. I played 1 year. Then I switched over to baseball and volleyball for the rest of the 3 years. But my nephew's playing there, so it was really interesting to see. Or like I've been going to all the games these last I don't know, like 2 months, I think. Every Friday night, like Friday Night Lights, right? But these kids, this new generation is so different. I grew up, and I'll be 100% honest because this will stay on the internet forever, but growing up in the 90s in East LA, you were like it was not okay to speak Spanish. You were told like, hey, like Spanish is not cool. Like Spanish is like, oh, you don't want to hang out on that side of the cafeteria because that's where all the paisitas hang out. And those were like people who just came over from Mexico, right? Or and you're like, no, you want to be with the cool kids or with the baseball kids or the football kids. But these kids at all their games are dancing corridos, cumbias, like merengues, and of course there's hip hop and dance and all of that going on as well too. But during the classic, the varsity team came out, and when they came out, one of the kids in the front raised the Mexican flag, and they all ran out together to it, right? So like, it to me, it's so crazy to see that because I wasn't taught that. Like, I think times are changing now so much. So I guess my question to you is like, how do you see soccer changing now in the future, and how do you see like this new culture where like like kids even around this area are listening to like a lot more Spanish music, but they're born here in the U.S. So they identify both ways, but I just see them be so prideful in it, and I love that because I never saw that growing up. Yeah.
Honestly, Randy, it's an exciting time because
Yeah.
even that whole concept of a paisa, of a root, is now being embraced because this next generation is asking itself, because they're fully assimilated, asking itself, wait, I'm not going to assimilate to this other thing. I'm not that. Where's
Yeah.
the true roots? And all of a sudden, you realize those true roots come to life with like the little details that are uniquely Mexican or uniquely Mexican American. So you have the mashup of like chafa wear, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
pulga wear, and now that's inspired the world actually. So East LA has the same amount of inspiration to Mexico City that Mexico City has to the world. You have
Yeah.
individuals like our homies Joey and Javi who own Paisa Boys who are literally embracing that kitsch that is uniquely Chicano, which is like, oh, these CDs and this quinceañera wear and like this banda wear in my truck with all these other elements, and being proud of that uniqueness. Because you gotta remember, when the world is the most connected, which we are, everything becomes kind of the same. So kids crave uniqueness and identity more than ever. They're asking themselves, how am I different than this other thing, and how am I part of something that no one else is? So this whole digging up, like kids rediscovering Juan Gabriel, kids looking at like old school corridos, kids embracing the new corridos, like also looking at little details like botas and like all this stuff that maybe your generation was typically shun away, to be like, no,
Right,
you
right,
got to
yeah.
blend in, you got to become more of this, So it's a very, very, very exciting time.
Yeah.
And beyond soccer, we're celebrating that because we're like, okay, so how does that impact streetwear? How does that impact music? How does that impact when I do something that's more grassroots and regional? I'm working right now in the alcohol business, and we're like, the way East LA vibes versus the way Chicago versus the way Miami and Austin, they're all different.
Oh my God, yeah. I just went to Chicago for the first time in July. I'm from East LA, and I've never been to Chicago, and I have uncles there, right? And I have like a lot of Mexicans went to Chicago. But Chicago has like very interesting cool vibes because I feel like, civil rights movement, that's the first thing I kept feeling the whole time I was there. And second, I kept thinking the music, the jazz, like it was just like it was the location, the food, the culture, the people, like you don't mess with the Chicagoan for sure, because they'll come at you. But
When
I
I was
feel
there,
like,
sorry to interrupt you, Randy.
No,
You
it's
got me
okay.
excited. When I was there, like the mashup of the music is very different, very regional, similar to LA.
Yeah.
When I was there, it was a mashup of it wasn't hip hop and cumbias and banda. It was banda and house music. That was like, this is like 90s, early 2000s. That was only coming out of Chicago. You know what I mean? It was very, very interesting. And now you're seeing a revitalization of some of that. But
Of the
yeah,
house.
what I was going to get at, Randy, is that these micro areas are very different. So for me, as a brand that wants to come in and say, oh, I got it. I got a Latino guy that can talk to all Latinos. You're wrong. Because there's little nuances and differences. So if I'm going to do an activation in LA, it's going to be uniquely LA, uniquely neighborhood up, or bring something new, but take into consideration. Likewise in Chicago, likewise in Austin or Miami, which has more of a Caribbean vibe.
Oh, yeah. So who was I talking? I was talking to someone, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're all Mexican." I was in Mexico, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of Mexicanos in LA, right, or in the U.S." And I was like, "Well, yes, but no." Like I had to point it out to them that like, if you're in the East Coast, you're looking at more like Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Colombians, Venezuelans, and versus LA, you see a lot of Mexicans, and you do see some Cubanos and stuff like that, but you don't see it as big as it is like in other states. Like I just feel like LA is very Chicano based or very Mexican based. So yeah, I'm glad you have those. You have a great understanding. It seems like you have a great understanding of those nuances, because I feel like when we go out to the world, and I love to travel, so I'm obviously all over the place all year long, but people just think that Latinos in the U.S. are Mexicanos, which is true, kind of in LA, because there's everything here as well if you go around and look for it. But yeah, let me ask you the next question. So you've worked with some of the world's most iconic brands, right? Like Nike, YouTube, Lego. How do you keep things fresh at that level? Like if you're working with these major brands, like how do you go in there and say like, okay, I'm gonna create this one ad that's supposed to be geared towards one audience or one culture, right? How do you keep it fresh?
I think ultimately is like, one, we don't box ourselves in. So like we're working with all types of consumers. We're working with Disney right now, and like it's not just like, oh, we come to us for Latino stuff. Like if the Latino POV is important and right for the connection of the brand, then we're going that way. If it's not and inauthentic and not real, we're not going that way. So the two things that are really important in the way that we stay fresh are two words. One is the logic. So having, again, a deep understanding of people, a deep understanding of my consumer, a deep understanding of where I'm going. That's step number one.
Yeah.
And a deep understanding of who I am as a brand, what I stand for. That's the logic. So for us, that's making sure that we shape that through and through. And then the next one is the magic. And the magic comes into like, that's the magic of creativity. Once I know this is what my consumer craves and needs from me, and as a brand, this is what I can offer and enable, then we sprinkle in creativity to be like, well, what's the best vehicle? What's the best way to actually have the impact that I need? And by keeping those two things fresh, we're always ahead of the game. Because I'm not showing up to being like, oh, we should do an ad, like I said earlier. I show up to being like, well, what's the best way to connect? Toma el Juego is a series of experiences and pop-ups and movements that are happening. There's no ad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah. So very different to how
very different. Where Leagues Cup was a tournament and a provocation. You know what I mean? Yes, there's some spots and things like that that are used to help promote it, but it's what is ultimately the vehicle that's going to help connect these two, and that's like how we stay fresh. Like right now we're working on an open platform thing where it's like, no, why kids right now, especially younger Gen Z and older Alpha, they want to get their hands dirty. They want to make. So why am I, as a brand, showing up with something that's already finished? Let's invite them to be part of the process. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And again, to me, what's kept us relevant, it's like ongoing impact. Like we have a lot of firsts. Of like, oh my God, these guys were the first to do a 3D printed titanium bike. Oh my God, these guys were the first to do a draw for Nike. That didn't exist before. This concept of like, oh, I can get that shoe. Oh my God, these guys are the first to do a live stream for YouTube at El Duomo using Bocelli because all the abuelitas globally were missing Easter Mass because of COVID.
Right.
Oh my God, these guys are the first to create a co-created Air Max with Air Max Day. You know what I mean? When we're like, yo, let's do the Willy Wonka thing and do the golden ticket thing. Oh my God, these guys are the first to like really bring street culture and culture into soccer in a new way. Like, so the list goes on, and by creating a series of firsts, you're showing results, you're showing impact, and that's ultimately what brands want, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so like what you mentioned right now just has me thinking about like rich cultural experiences, and whatever that culture is that you're trying to get out there, you really want people to really embrace it and feel like they're part of it. Because I have a friend who moved out to Mexico City like a couple years ago, and one of the things that we talked about yesterday was like people ask him, why do you love Mexico so much? And he was like, and he turned around, he's like, this sounds really cliche, but it's really the people. Like he's all like, I've had like some gringo friends come out here and I bring them to bars just the way I'm bringing you right now. But you sat down like, I sat down, you came back, and then you're like, hola, buenos, ¿cómo estás, señor? Like to the bartender, and he's all like, whereas like my counter friends or whatever, they come and they're just like sitting there waiting to just be served, And I was like, he's all like, it is the people. Like people are craving so much connection. I think at the moment, especially with this new digital age of AI and and transformation of what our future is going to look like with like robots and stuff like that. Like I'm talking to an AI robot now, like to bounce ideas off of them. But like that just reminded me of that because like he was like, yeah, I'm gonna live here forever. He's like moving forward because it is so different here. He's all like, we're both from LA, but he's just like, I'm not ever gonna go back to LA because
right now that physicality is so important. I was talking to people in the wine industry, and I don't know if you know this, but the wine industry has taken this crazy dip because they try to like compete with these trends and forgot the DNA of like they were like, oh wait, it's health. People aren't drinking. It's like, well, people didn't drink to be anti-healthy. Like what right now? If we look
right
at what people crave, and it's this physicality, this connection, this community, these experiences, these elements. And a place like Mexico, especially La Ciudad, it has it every corner. It's an explosion of senses, that are tangible, but that you're allowed in. It's not like this gray box. I love NYC, spend so much time there, and yes, there's senses, but it's different. In Mexico, it's layers that you're peeling off throughout the day. You know what I mean? Like, and it's people allowing you in. It's like, come on.
No, that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, that's
it's a mega city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, and I think using Mexico City as a metaphor, it's what a lot of people crave today in society. And I'm not just telling you that. We have research that shows us that. Like,
yeah.
So to me, I think your friend's right. It's like, why leave when all of a sudden I'm embraced here, and every corner has all types of my senses that are being literally, I'm being let in, and inspired and motivated,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it just feels like, and like, I feel like just everyone embraces that. Everyone's like, yeah, like, welcome, But okay, so what about, how do you mentor the next generation of create like immigrants, even if they're not immigrants themselves? Like, how do you mentor the next generation of creatives in your industry? Like how?
To me, I mean, I don't like. I mean, we have people from all over the world. We don't have just Latinos. I embrace people of all shapes, sizes, everything, POVs, and to me, I just encourage people to live curious. That's it. Like, create like an immigrant is not only for immigrants. Like, it's really a mindset of like a way of seeing the world. And a way of seeing the world is, again, embracing change, adapting, living curious, having, being fearless. I mean, today we got to be fearless as creators, as people, as humans, especially when it's being instilled. Like, how are we? So all those elements, to me, I'm always like, hey, like, you're working on something. The future's gonna look so different in 6 months. So like, don't get stuck on this ego or box yourself in. Like, just like open up. Really be curious. Like, put the work in. Have that passion. Like, and just keep adapting. Or more importantly, with the younger creators, I'm like, hey, instead of following something, what does it look like to create something new? To define something new.
Yeah.
And it creates a cool avenue,
And like, to piggyback off that one, what's the difference between a good design and a transformative design?
I think good design is subjective, where it's like, oh, that's pretty, mira, qué bonito, mira,
Sí.
qué chido ese.
Sí.
You know what I mean? Transformative is really, like I said, it's about impact. It's a larger impact. It unlocks something new into society. It breaks through. It gives you a lot more meaning, and ultimately connects, brings things together. You know what I mean? I think there's always a struggle in my world, because oftentimes a lot of people are like, well, I'm an artist, I can create the impact,
Yeah.
or I'm a designer. And the reality is, you have to look at the problem that's presented. It's great design solves a problem, right? And great art asks a question, right? So to me, I think, how do I bring both together, where we're asking a question of the consumer and the brand, but at the same time solving a problem that people didn't know before? So again, it's that art and the science together. It's that love and that logic. It's that logic and magic,
Yeah.
both together.
Oh man, right now with what you just said, that made me think about Coca-Cola in Mexico. It is a lifestyle for all these restaurants and like little tienditas around the corners, or like the tienditas inside like someone's home, like in the entrance of their home, those
Yeah.
puestecitos. And so like it is insane how much Coca-Cola has ingrained themselves in the Mexican culture of like eating out restaurants and like tables, like umbrellas and stuff like that, and like just always being present. So yeah, man, that's like huge. Um, but look, I have like actually one more question left for the interview
Yeah,
because
let's go.
because
There's no rush. I'm
yeah,
about to
like
eat my pollito in a little bit, so I'm good.
yeah. Well, my last question, or second to last question, really says, what's next for storytelling in the age of AI, social media, and global connectivity? Like, what is the next thing that's gonna happen in your industry?
It's an exciting time. I think the tools that we have are opening gates and solutions and new experiences that we only dreamt of. What I mean? AI is a tool, but also it could be an application or beyond AI. Right now, everything around us is being revolutionized, which is amazing, because for a creative mind, that allows new possibilities. And I think we're going to start seeing and experiencing things like we never have before. And that excites me. And that's what's new. I'm not going to say, oh, advertising is dead or print is dead. I think it's just going to be a mashup of actually creating worlds. And that to me is where we're going. It's like, how do you transcend a very beautiful idea or a concept and give it different lives, and
Yeah.
like, now we have the tools to be able to do that. And that's what's exciting. I think not to be dark, but the things that'll die are those that aren't willing to change. I mean, that is the nature of
Yeah.
things. Adapt or die, I mean, that's
Yeah.
it.
And it was in the New York Times. I read this article about this company that's shutting down because of the tariffs and stuff like that. So, how do you see your company? Like, how have you navigated everything that's been going on right now with the way business, with the political scene is, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, I feel like, mm, yeah, is your business thriving? Is your business, have you seen setbacks? Because, like, I mean, traditional advertising, people would just be like, like, keep it a print. And really what I was thinking about this company right now when you mentioned that was, this company is shutting down after so many years of being open, and they sell a very unique product. It's like old school deodorant, but it's a powder form. So it's
Oh,
like
wow.
it's like from the 50s. Um, but yeah, what's your take on like a company that is shutting down right now versus a company like yours?
I think it's a very interesting time, and for us, where it's hitting us is on a couple things. It's like how people are experiencing brands, where they're like, oh, I can't afford this, or they're not talking to me, or how brands want to connect with people, where they're like, well, I have this thing that I need to launch, but they're not like, well, you're not understanding the mindset of what people are going through right now. You know what I mean? So again, taking a step back and looking at those two things are really important. For us, like whether the market is good or the market is bad, brands need solutions. They have problems, so we are okay. Where it gets hard is the type of projects we take on, and also how do you motivate a crew of very sensitive people. That's everyone here in my company who
Yeah.
really feel and love so deeply society. How do you motivate them when it's chaos outside, or when things are changing, or where certain races are being persecuted? You know what I mean? It's like, how do you motivate that team? And one of the things that we started doing is really allowing our creatives and our engineers and designers and all of that to express themselves, and we help fund that, right? So, a team upstairs had worked on a short video that we help fund on, like, how do you guide people who may not know English through their rights in case ICE shows up. Like, how do you then other people who like had a point of view where they're like, oh, what can creativity do to help? So we've been enabling as much as we can.
Yeah.
For people to have a voice and have a platform and use the tools that are here to do something. And I think that's really important. And then from brands' point of view, we're helping brands just do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, really feel, be empathetic and enable with their consumers. That's it.
Yeah. So really connecting, because I feel like, if you really are connecting with your consumer, then I don't know if, like, even with everything that's going on right now, you would really be considering shutting down your company, right? Because I read that article and I was like really interested on the why, and I just was like, I get to get product from China and stuff like that, and there's all these tariffs that they now have to pay, but at the end of the day, it just seemed to me like such a crazy thought to like be like, because of the current climate, I'm not going to continue my company. However,
brands, it's very interesting with brands because you see the split. You see what are called commodity brands that are like, well, I don't care, I just sell an object, I don't need to connect with them, like a brand doesn't really matter, this and that. And then you see brands that really have the hearts and minds of the consumer. And you know what I mean? Who are there, who have that connection point, who could be transparent, you know what I mean? It's like the difference between the two will show you those that live and those that don't. Because if it's a commodity and they're like, well, I'm just trading something on and off, and it's like, well, now I can't trade you that at that price, the consumer will be like, well, I'll go find another price or another connection.
Right, you just find another.
I don't have the loyalty. I don't have. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That
we
makes
we don't have a relationship. But when a consumer has a relationship with the brand, they're gonna also look outward and be like, damn, the tariffs are really affecting this brand that I love. Either one, I'm willing to pay, or two, I'm willing to support a way or another, and vice versa. They have my back.
Right.
So it's an exchange, you know what I mean? Like, versus just the commodity, the functional need,
Of course, yes. Well, Oved, this has been awesome. I wish we could like continue talking for like hours. I feel like we have so much to talk
you gotta
about.
come visit. Come to Portland. There's no sun out here, man.
Oh, I know the sun's starting to hit me. Like I'm facing the window, but no, yes, I love the Pacific Northwest. It's actually its own little vibe out there. Actually, to be honest, I've been there a couple times, but yeah, no, I'll hit you up next time I'm there. But yeah, please. I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, so I do once again thank you for coming on the show, and I'll be looking for the episode to go live. So I'm excited about it.
I appreciate you, Randy. Thank you for everything that you're doing, for creating a connective tissue with the community and beyond. And I think that's what's cool. Yeah. So I congratulate you for doing that, and welcome back from Mexico. Hopefully you brought a couple little things back.
Awesome, yeah. I'm definitely re-energized. Every time I go out there, me dan pilas, like they give me energy. Like, yeah, so, okay, real quick, yesterday we were at a bar. Well, we went to a couple before I jumped on the airplane. But my friend, we had some pulque, and then right up by the Alameda, which is near the Bellas Artes. We went to downtown, and then we walked over to this old bar. He's like, this is remnants of like when the Spanish were here. And we have banderita, but we ended up at this bar where you had two waiters to your table. One was just for drinks, and one was for food. And you didn't pay for the food, you paid for the drinks, and the food came along with it. And then there's two guys singing like rock songs, rock and roll, but from here, from the U.S. Yeah, and no, they weren't in Spanish, and it was just full of Mexicans. Like it was just like a Mexican bar, Yeah. So yeah, no, I had a ton of fun, to say the least. However, like, yes, every time I come back, dude, like the amount of energy I get, it's insane. I that's why I travel, to be honest, and I love it. I love Mexico. Yeah. So
good. Thank you. Make it contagious.
Okay. Well, thank you, and then yeah, we'll be seeing you soon on the when it releases.
All right, appreciate you. Adios. I'm gonna hang up.
Sí, nos vemos. Bye.